This program is brought to you by the Media Liberty Alliance Foundation in cooperation with OBBM Network TV, bringing citizen-led, creative local media to the forefront of local communities to foster a greater understanding of constitutional liberty and appreciation of what makes us truly free, starting with you and me.
Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you're updated each time fresh content comes out. And thank you for being part of the Zach Rateliff Show.
The Zach Rateliff Show is sponsored by Mortgage Financial in Texarkana, Exceed Health Clinic, Elmwood Custom Goods, and Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org. Hello and welcome to the Zach Rateliff Show. I'm Zach. Thanks for being with me today. I'm glad to be with you. Thank God for another day. It's beautiful here in Northeast Texas. Sun shining. Everything you want to. Yes, and that's a little bit cold for us. I mean, I know it's March for some of you and it's cold where you are, but you know, it's been being 80 degrees here. So it got down to, it was in the 40s this morning. And I was like, oh man, wasn't ready for winter again. Anyway, it's beautiful weather outside, 60 degrees. A little bit chilly for around here. Anyway, and I know some of you listening are like, that's crazy, and we love it. Anyway, all right, we're just going to do some rapid-fire news today, see what we can get into, and see where we go. You know, some of this is going to be the same stories we've been hearing, but I think it's just important that we focus on what is actually happening in our world and in our country, and so that's what we're going to do. Anyway, here we go. This is from the conservative alternative on X.com, and it's just a pretty simple statement. J.D. Vance should replace John Thune as Senate Majority Leader. He says it's his constitutional right. As Vice President, John Adams did it for 4 whole years. Yeah, I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. It looks like the administration, you know, maybe they can work on other things, but certainly looks like he could step in and say, hey, we're going to vote on these things. We're going to do it this way. I don't know, other than decorum and tradition, I don't know why that hasn't happened. So I think that's a valid point. I'm no constitutional expert, obviously, but I don't know. If you are, send me an email, ZachRatliffShow@gmail.com. Let me know. Here's this from Nick Sorter on X.com. It says, breaking, President Trump just ordered the Department of Energy to release 172 million barrels, that's 5.4 billion gallons, from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Trump is using the reserve for what it was actually meant, preventing hostile nations from blackmailing us with oil prices. Here's what I don't get. And I know I'm just a simple guy from a simple place, but you know, we have our own refineries and we have our own oil, and how much of our oil actually comes from Iran is in question. And I understand it's a global market, and so we're going to bring this, but golly, it just seems, you know, the prices went up over the weekend and they came back down, and they're back up a little bit. Last time I saw them earlier this morning, it was at $90, but gas prices didn't drop dramatically. And the gas in these tanks out here, that was paid for long ago by the stores. It all seems like a racket to me. Obviously that shows that I just don't understand the market, I guess, but it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, good for him for saying, hey, you're not going to blackmail us over this. We'll release some oil. You know, remember Biden did it just to try to get Kamala, or try to get himself reelected, and then to try to get Kamala elected, which was crazy. Anyway, so we have that. Then here's this from Gunther Engelman, and I like where this is at. Senator Tommy Tuberville just went full warrior mode. He says, vowing to pull a days-long talking filibuster and do whatever it takes to ram the Save America through Act through the Senate. And that's the thing. He says, Tommy Tuberville, quote, "I promise you I will be on the floor as long as it takes. Nothing else matters. If we don't get the Save America Act, these communists are going to cheat their way back in and reverse everything." That's exactly right. But like I say, half the Republicans are Democrats, and they just hate Donald Trump. So that's what you get sometimes. Anyway, the reason that they aren't trying to do the talking filibuster is because the geriatric ward that is our U.S. Senate, they can't stand up for 10 minutes, much less 10 hours. That's a hard thing to do. They can't walk from here to the truck. I mean, you see them shuffling around and all that around the Capitol. So there's no way they could ever do a filibuster. They don't have it in them. I'd love for Tommy Tuberville to make this happen. So go ahead, man. Get on it. This is from Caroline Wren on X.com. And this is what I don't think people understand. She says, here's Cornyn's situation. He blew all his money in the primary. He has about $6 million cash on hand between his campaign and his super PAC. He's down 8 points to Paxton in the runoff. Cornyn was counting on a Trump endorsement that never came. Now it says his only hope is for the Senate to use their fund to support him. The problem is they would spend another $25 to $50 million to try to save him. But if they do, now Caroline makes a good point on this, it's going to be at the expense of Senate races in Georgia, Maine, Michigan, North Carolina, Alaska, Ohio, and Iowa. But the polling here, it's showing that with Trump's endorsement, Cornyn loses. Without Trump's endorsement, Cornyn really loses. Now, take that for whatever it's worth. But I promise you, the polls and the media aren't on Ken Paxton's side. Right? I mean, the polls and the media aren't with Ken Paxton on purpose. Now, they're showing him in the lead because they have to. But whoever's doing it, they're not like, oh, yeah, I'm big Ken Paxton fan. I promise you that. So I think Cornyn's fighting an uphill battle at this point, which is why I think and once again, I've said this a few times on this show. When Paxton came out and said, yeah, if you'll go ahead and pass this SAVE Act, I'll bow out of the race. Well, we hadn't seen that happen yet. Cornyn is a no on the SAVE Act. I just want you to know that, especially if he doesn't win the nomination, I'm 85% sure he's a no on it. Now, there are those out there that I talk to and love and respect that say, hey, this guy, he's a conservative Republican. I just don't see it. I don't see it anymore. And I hope I'm wrong. But I just don't see it. All right, this is from Joshua Hall on X.com. Breaking. And now I don't know Joshua Hall. I don't know. Maybe he's completely wrong. And hold on, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just have Grok do. It says, let's see. So Grok's analysis of this post is, it says, this post alleges that DNI Tulsi Gabbard's discovery of a 2024 election plot by Venezuela, Iran, and Democrats using voting machines. But, so it kind of holds this. So we'll do this because Grok's like, I'm not sure this is right. And I'm at least trying to be accurate on that. But it's a tantalizing post. It's good red meat for people like me. And then I'm like, let me make sure this is accurate. So we'll hold off on that. Okay, moving on. Like I said, we're just doing rapid fire news today. Just going to have just a segment about what's going on. Okay, Elon Musk on X.com. Yes, the silent filibuster is an outright corruption of democracy, a denial of the will of the majority of people. Yeah, that's exactly right. Once again, you don't have to stand up. Look, I even had this conversation, yesterday on the show, which was, hey, we need a Mr. Smith goes to Washington type filibuster. That's what it takes. But don't worry, our rulers don't care what we think. Clandestine on X.com says, I think we are witnessing the U.S. military destroy everything that they claim the CIA built, which was Iran and the terrorist proxies, Venezuela, the cartels, and Cuba is up next. It says, I think the CIA has been cleansed and their global terror network is being destroyed. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. The reason I even sent that to myself was that's a fascinating thought to me, that the CIA orchestrated all this in a grand scheme to be able to control the world and our own government through threats and everything that implies is a wild thought to me. But you can see that it makes some sense. You can see why the roots can grab you, right? Do I believe that the Ayatollah was put there by the CIA? Not really. But I know that, you know, we did have Saddam and we did have Muammar Gaddafi, and while they seemed like bad guys, as long they controlled all the crazies around them. Once they stepped out of line, it was a problem for them, obviously. So maybe is that what's happened? I don't know. But go to Clandestine. They have some good points on there on X.com. It's just an interesting thought. And then this from Matt Gates, so take it for what it's worth, on X.com. He says, Paxton is going to win this runoff. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think Paxton will win this thing, no matter what Trump does at this point. The grassroots in Texas are not happy with John Cornyn. You're seeing stuff all over the place where it's like, oh yeah, every 6 years Cornyn comes down, jumps on a horse, puts on a cowboy hat and says, hey y'all. And we're all supposed to be satisfied with that. I'm not saying everything John Cornyn does is bad. I'm just saying, like I've said on here many times, he's only with us when we don't need him. Like on this SAVE Act, jump out and be in front of it. On the Trump agenda. So remember, he came out, and look, if you're not for Trump, then it doesn't matter. But he came out hard against Trump off the jump on a lot of things. And he's fought the agenda on a lot of things. So it's hard for me to believe that he's with us. Okay, this is from another one from Joshua Hall. I might skip that. This is from Mike Lee. He says, on X.com, Mike Lee, he says, the convenience of senators has become the enemy of liberty and good government. What a statement. The convenience of senators has become the enemy of liberty and good government. That's from a senator. I just want to make sure. Yeah. I mean, it's got him verified. I'm just making sure this is the same. Yeah, the same guy. I mean, that's a wild statement, right? He says it's time to turn that around. We must make filibustering senators speak, even through long nights, weekends, and long scheduled recesses. We've become addicted to easy, predictable schedules. That's exactly right. Well, we won't want to do this. We're going to have a 3-day work week. And we're going to go back to doing whatever we do. Nobody else has a 3-day work week. If they do, they've earned it. It's just frustrating. Then for those of you, I don't know if yesterday Dale heard about Wall Street apes. Well, today we've got Cat Turd on X.com. They make some good points, no matter what the name is. It says, we have a Congress that will overwhelmingly vote to keep their sexual assaults secret, but won't vote to secure our elections with 85% of citizens wanting it. They hate you. That's exactly right. Look, we've long ago stopped voting on morals and Christianity, and that's what we're seeing in Congress. Jesus has been left behind long ago. And because of that, what founding father was it that said, our government was set up for a moral people? We are no longer a moral people. Our morals are based in feelings and what we think. That's the problem. So yeah, of course they're going to vote to keep the sexual assault secret. And then of course they're just going to tax us and make us pay for it. The Zach Rateliff Show is sponsored by Mortgage Financial in Texarkana, Exceed Health Clinic, Elmwood Custom Goods, and Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org. That's crazy. This is from Substack.com, DC Drano. If you don't follow him, you should. But DC Drano says, the conspiracy theorists were right about Russia collusion being a hoax. Remember that? What a crazy theory. Trump really did collude with Russia in his first term. Remember all that? And then, turns out it was just a lie. Turns out it was just Hillary Clinton paying some people to make this story up. Then it says they were right about COVID vaccines being dangerous. Oh, no, they're safe. It's okay. Everything's right. Nope. Turns out that that's not true. Then it says, then the conspiracy were right about social media censorship. Remember that Twitter wasn't censoring anybody. Facebook wasn't censoring anybody. Then later on, Zuckerberg goes on Joe Rogan. What was that, 2022 maybe? He's like, yeah, we were doing that because the FBI or whoever was asking us to. Well, what? And so that just kind of went away. And then the guy who was running Twitter, yeah, it turns out he was. Thank God for Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and turning it into X. So then you get to learn about that. Right? Well, if we hadn't had X, we wouldn't know anything that's going on. It just wouldn't be happening. And then if you had the net neutrality rules that everybody has free time and everybody's equal, they would have squashed all conservatism, because that's the goal. We are free thinking. You don't have to believe like me. You don't have to believe that John Cornyn may not be the best bet. But we're free to think that. What the other side does, they want you to all believe the exact same way, and then tell you that you're free to believe what you want. Then it goes on to say, after the media censorship, the conspiracy theorists were right about Jeffrey Epstein and his billionaire pedo friends. Yeah. Been right almost every time, if not every time. Every time one of these comes out, they're like, oh, you're crazy. That's not true. Then by the time it's proved true, here's the problem. They're like, well, yeah, maybe, but, we've moved on. It wasn't that big a deal. So then DC Drano goes on to say, do you know what else they'll soon be irrefutably proven correct about? Election fraud. And we're already seeing it. Well, just a couple of dead people vote. Well, just a couple of ballots are wrong. Just a couple of machines got it wrong. I don't think that's the case. We already know that we fill in these inner cities with illegals just so that they count towards the census. Right? We already know, we can see just look at the fraud in Minnesota with the Leering Center, or the fraud that's going to come out of California about these fires. That's just a little hit. So you don't think that there's voter fraud? Why else would it be fought so hard against about having to prove you're a citizen to be able to vote? If there wasn't fraud, what would it matter? But there's power at play, and there's money at play, and that's the issue every time. It's always about power, and it's always about money. I want my money back. I want my money back. They're not afraid to They're not afraid to tax us. They're not afraid to tell us what we can do. They're not afraid to tell us what we can't do. But don't worry. If you come over here illegally, we're going to give you everything. And then we're going to let you vote. And then we're going to let you be police. And then because that's already happening. I remember the first time I told somebody, like, oh yeah, up north, they're letting illegals be police officers. They're like, oh, you're crazy. Why would you say that? Because it's true? Maybe that's the reason. The conspiracies keep working out for facts. And then remember the last big conspiracy was, oh, Trump's crazy, right? Or you guys are conspiracy theorists. These tariffs will never work. They're not good for our country. And it just didn't happen. And then now from Eric Doherty on X.com says, breaking in an incredible tariff win for President Trump. An aluminum plant in South Carolina just surged jobs for Americans that pay $125,000 a year. Century Aluminum CEO Jesse Gray, the tariffs are working. The plant is back going to 100% manufacturing capacity. Yeah, it's all working. We just have to let it work. We just have to believe. We just have to be part of it. This says, breaking. John Thune confirms he will bring the Save America Act to the floor to the floor for a vote next week. Then Nick Sorter goes on to say on X.com, but this is not enough. Without the enforcement of the talking filibuster, the bill will fail. That's exactly right. It's all a show. It's all wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Do you know what I mean? These people hate us. We're not smart like them. We're not as intelligent as they are. We don't know what's best for us. The pigs get to live in the house. And they'll just tell the other animals what's best for them. And they'll just lead them down the right path. And we'll give them a little bit of food. And we'll give them football and baseball. And we'll even give them a little distraction. We'll shake them up with a little controversy over here. And we'll give them the Real Housewives. And we'll give them Bravo and whatever's on that. And everybody will just be satisfied. They'll have all of this to watch. So they won't ever have to worry about what we're actually doing. And anytime they get too close to the mark, we'll just call them conspiracy theorists. We'll just tell them they're crazy. Why would anybody ever believe stuff like that? Is that not what happens? Is that not where we are? Here's this as of an hour ago, Eric Doherty, breaking. The U.S. Senate Democrats blocked the bill to reopen the Department of Homeland Security as we face terror threats. 51-46, John Fetterman voted yay with Republicans. And it goes on to say, Democrats betrayed America again. 51-46. Let's see, my math says that there's 3 people that didn't vote. And it looks like those were probably Republicans. No. 3 people didn't vote. So 3 people voted no. Golly. John Fetterman voted yay with Republicans. Demonstrate TSA is also being withheld pay with hundreds of no-shows. People are quitting in chaotically long lines at the airport. Republicans should nuke the filibuster. Oh, yeah, because that's what we're waiting on. It's a filibuster thing. Kill the filibuster and this passes. You got the 51, and those are show votes. It's ridiculous. Here's this breaking out of Missouri. U.S. judge just upheld the new congressional map in Missouri, adding another Republican seat in the U.S. House. It's a big win. We need this is from Nick Sorter, we need other red states like Florida to get their maps redrawn. I don't know what's going to happen with all that. Can we redraw enough to make up for the ones that are quitting to put their thumb in Trump's eye? Maybe. That's what happened last time. That's what will happen this time. Let's see here. Wayne Root on X.com. I've spoken to brilliant election experts. If Trump signs an executive order to make the SAVE Act law of the land for voting, it will 100% hold up at the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's accurate. In order for the Supreme Court to strike down the Donald Trump election executive order, they would have to violate 3 articles in the U.S. Constitution and overturn a prior Supreme Court's ruling from 31 years ago, which never happens, as in never ever. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think if he could do that, he would have already done it. Maybe he's just trying to go about it through the Senate first and through the Congress first, and then that might be a break in case of emergency type of action. I'm not sure. Breaking 58 minutes ago. Today's Thursday. I don't know when you'll listen to this. There was a shooter at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, is reportedly named Muhammad Jallah, a former Army National Guardsman arrested in 2016 for providing material support to ISIS. Why is someone, and this is from Nick Shorter, and he says, why is someone convicted of supporting ISIS walking free? A naturalized citizen from Sierra Leone traveled overseas multiple times attempting to join ISIS. He was convicted in federal court and then released from prison. Well, that's crazy. That's crazy, y'all. Why would we even allow that? Oh, man, that's so wild. That's just so crazy. Here, this is from Lauren Boebert, possibly the most attractive woman in Congress. The same GOP senators who voted to keep giving welfare to non-citizens are now opposing the SAVE Act, the passage of the SAVE Act via standing filibuster. Do you get it? Voted to keep sending welfare to refugees. Bozeman, Arkansas, that's next door to me. Capito, West Virginia. Collins, Maine. Ernst, Iowa. Fisher, Nevada, maybe? Graham, South Carolina. Grassley, Iowa. Hyde Smith, Mississippi. Langford, McConnell, Moran. Mullen. Murkowski, Ricketts, Rounds, Sullivan, Thune, Tillis, Wicker, Young. Against passing the Save America Act via standing filibuster. Barrazo, Bozeman, Arkansas. Capito, Collins, Cotton, Arkansas. Both Arkansas are against this. Kramer, North Dakota. Crapo? Curtis, Daines, Fisher, Graham, Grassley, of course, Graham. It's on both of them. Hoven, Justice, Kennedy, Louisiana. Interesting. Langford, McConnell, Moran, Murkowski, Ricketts, Thune, Tillis, Wicker, Young. Cornyn's not on that list right now. He's come out and said he'd do it. It's time to shove this thing through. It's time to make it happen. We've got to... Golly, we've just got to go in. Eric Doherty says that Senator Josh Hawley says the Save America Act is stalled. It's not moving. It's stuck. A few states want illegals voting. If they want to stall it, they should have to stand and filibuster it. That's the theme of today's show. That's the theme of today's show. They should have to stand and do what they need to do, but they're not. Alexander Duncan, talking about what's happening with this shooter, says, hey, if we're saying this is an isolated incident, it's not. And that's exactly right. It's not an isolated incident. Oh, man. Anyway, we just have so much that we just don't cover. We have so much that people run away from. You know what? We just need Jesus. We have to get back to him. If we do, well, that's the hope in the end, right? With the Bible as your guide, you know that it gets rough before it ends. And look, and this is what I said at church last night. I don't know that we're in the end times. It certainly feels like we're definitely getting closer. But even if we're not, we're 2,000 years closer to it than we were when Jesus was here. So we know we're at least that much closer to the end of it. We need to be ready. Don't be discouraged, though. There is hope. If you believe in Jesus, he is our hope. If you don't believe in Jesus, look into it. he's more historically provable as having been a real person than Julius Caesar. You can argue about his divinity. I kinda. People do, but you can't argue that he was a real person. You can't argue that he walked the earth. And you can go to his tomb and guess what? He's not there. So that's the hope I have. Don't be overwhelmed by all this. God is real. Jesus is real. The Holy Spirit is real. They're a triune God. Jesus conquered death for us so that we can live and live more abundantly. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. I hope God blesses each and every one of you, and I'll be back. We'll do it all again tomorrow.